Don't look now, but one of the most improved defenses in the NFL is the Arizona Cardinals. Now, they're statistically not going to be at the very top of any defensive list, but in terms of what they've gained in EPA since week 8, basically the last 5 weeks, has been tremendous. The only defense that can argue that they've had any more production is the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're doing it from the secondary. That's where the Cardinals are really making their mark. It's one of the most unique defenses in the NFL, and they're doing it with coverage disguised from a 3-high safety shell. They have the perfect personnel to run this, and they're doing some really unique things that you just don't normally see in the NFL. And they're able to do this because they have two corners that can actually play outside in isolation. Last year, they played a lot of quarters. This year, they're playing more cover 3. Against the Vikings, Arizona brought out all the stops in the secondary, though they weren't ultimately able to win. It really detailed how unique this defense is, the way it's structured, and what they can do out of this shell alignment that they use on a weekly basis. In this first clip, we're going to get what looks like an inverted 2, just out of the structure of what this looks like. We're going to get this pre-snap shift. You can see that Darnold is canning the play call. He moves the running back over. We also get pre-snap motion. So really all the offense is trying to do here is give Darnold a man zone indicator. And really by alignment, he should know, and by movement, that this is going to be zone, especially with Baker moving out. Baker's right here at 3. He's moving out. So at the snap of the ball, what we're going to get is we're going to get the pull runner is going to work back. Baker is going to end up becoming the wall 2. We're going to get a cut flat defender here, and then we're going to get our half on this side. The corner on the back side is going to play inverted half. So we're going to get a kind of a cut flat here. We're going to get our wall defender here. So you can see that we have all of the hallmarks of a Tampa 2. Pole runner, 2 deep pads. We have 2 hard safeties, and with 2 hard flats, and then we also have 2 wall 2 defenders. As the play progresses, you can really see the distribution on top of this. So you can see that we get a really nice pack in here by the pole. Once he sees the outbreak, he's going to snap his eyes back. We have 2 defenders in the middle. So notice how we have our Tampa triangles. We have our inner triangle here. Both of these defenders can break and drive on this if it sits, if it options out. We also have our triangles outside. So you can see here we have our big triangle outside. We have our big triangle outside, and then we have our little triangle here in the middle. This is clinic Tampa 2. So as Darnold's looking, you can see that we are going to get a squat corner. At the moment that this guy goes in, you give an in and in call. He now is going to overtake. He really doesn't have anything, but he's playing off of vision, and we are doubling Jefferson on this side. And because the tight end stayed inside, we now can play off of this. So even if he tracks, you can see that we have created these really nice funnels for both of these receivers. So as this receiver enters in here, I have an outside inside shoulder. This receiver here, I have an outside inside shoulder. We have caps for verticals anywhere that they want to go. And then we have the double on Jefferson here. So Darnold really doesn't have anywhere to go. And now he's going to have to escape the pocket. He runs into a defensive lineman. It ends up in being a sack. So you can see here, we don't get the 3-high alignment, but we kind of get this muddy look, this amoeba look where there's just DBs everywhere. I don't know what the final coverage is going to be. They could easily run this as a cover 3 where they shoot Buddha through the middle of the field. We have our 2 flat defenders here, our 2 hook defenders here, right? And then we have our deep thirds here. So even they can run cover 3 in Tampa, and it will all look the same. It's just how does that middle third or the pull player play it out? And here we see that this ends up being kind of an inverted Tampa right here. Darnold has nowhere to go, ends up being a sack. So we start out the game, and they're kind of showing you we're not going to give you any easy reads, especially when we have this 3-high safety structure. So notice the down and distance here. This is going to be first down. We're in the first quarter, right? It's 3-3. So this is not an obvious passing set, especially when it's down here on the 14-yard line. But this is going to be the traditional setup. This is the typical base alignment for what we see. We're going to get our tight front alignment inside. We're going to have 2 edge defenders. And really, Mack Wilson Sr. was picked up by the Patriots. He was mostly just a blitzing linebacker for Bill Belichick. What he's become now is kind of the same thing, but he's this quasi edge that can come come down. So here is essentially our Jack backer in a 3-4. This would be that kind of your Mike Mack backer who's in charge of the C. He's going to work there, and then Kaiser White is going to be essentially your Mike linebacker. He just sits in the middle. So what we end up getting is this penny look. But what's interesting is we have a 3 high alignment, and you see this all the time when you watch the Cardinals, and you have no idea what is going to come out of this. So in this, we're actually going to get a Tampa look out of this, and we're going to get just a kind of a 4-man rush. So if you wanted to call this would just be Sam. This would just be a Sam tag where you're going to get the strong side edge, which is going to be Mack Wilson Sr. here. You're going to see him go. We're going to reduce the line opposite. We're going to get the dropout over here, and you're just going to watch how this turns into Tampa coverage. And so right here, this is a classic example of what this would look like in Tampa coverage, is that you have Baker, who's going to become the wall 2 defender. You have White, who's going to work the pole. We have this inverted alignment over here, and then we have our deep half and our squat corner here. So we have everything that we want for Tampa. So when Darnold turns back around, he's going to have to recalibrate. So now he sees that we have Tampa. Now, the other thing about this is because this turns into a nub tight end set, we can shove the coverage, and they probably do one of the best jobs of shoving the coverage. And all that means is anytime that we're going to have a single width alignment and he eliminates himself from the pass distribution because he's going to block, we have a flat defender here. So he's just going to stay on top, and he's just going to stay at home. This safety can now push that everybody away. He can give a shove call, which tells him I don't have to then lean back over. I don't have to worry about anything working over and vertical. And it also tells him I can stay on my vertical hook track. I don't have to chase anything back as well. So as Darnold gets back into the pocket, you can see that he is now going to overlap on top of the DB. We have a corner underneath. We have Baker who's cutting. The Vikings love to run dagger. So we get this vertical. Jefferson wants to cut under. Look at this. We have all of these guys here. We have him who can fit over here. We can have him move back. We have a cutoff valve for this dig on this side. He can nail down. So we have everything covered. And so when Darnold comes back and he's trying to find space to work, he has nowhere to go. And what does he do? He just checks it down to the back, which is exactly what they want. Now, it ends up being about a 5-yard gain, but that's okay because we get a clinic punch the pocket. It ends up being a fumble. Even if they would have got this, now we're in 2nd and 5. It's an obvious passing down. Now we're cooking. We feel like we can then play some more coverage off of this. We end up getting a fumble right here. This is a big play in this game. And so going back to the start, all we're showing right here is just a penny with a 3 high look on the backside. Ends up just becoming Tampa. You can see that we have Baker in the hook. We have our pole runner by the Mike linebacker. We have our 2 guys on the bottom where we end up we even layer this. So really what this is, this backer is supposed to be kind of the hook player on this side, but you can see how, because we have a nub tight end, the way that it really layers out is that we have 3 defenders. We have a low, an intermediate, and a high. We're essentially building a wall on this hash for anything that comes back, which really unlocks this front side. This is really good, especially now that we're getting more 12 personnel. We're getting more nub tight end stuff. You can see that this is just a really good way of playing defense. You would like for him to kind of sink back down on this, let him latch on top, but you can see White is chasing down on that. Baker is holding his vertical hook for this dig on here. And this is Vikings 101 right here. Bender away from the safety, dagger concept right here. Darnold has nowhere to go, checks it down to the back, ends up being a fumble. We're not just getting Tampa looks out of this. So here we're actually going to get a cover 6, a quarter, half look out of this. Now, in the previous clip, I illustrated how they can pop down from what looks like a mint front to kind of this penny package. So here we have our penny package again. We have our solo backer in the middle. We have our tight front inside. And then we have our 3 high safety alignment on top. Now, the key cog in this is going to be Buda Baker and where he ends up. They can move him anywhere. They don't have to stay in Tampa. He doesn't have to be the pole runner. A lot of times he ends up becoming the hook defender or the wall defender. Even with Jefferson moving, the passing strength changes, but we still get quarters to the passing strength. So right here, you can see a classic example of our box coverage that we get in quarters. So we have 4 defenders essentially creating a box on this side. We then have our nice triangle over here that creates our cover 2 side. We are running quarter, quarter, half. And so as Darnold works back, you can see that we're going to have our 4-man rush. Mac Wilson Sr. is going to work. He's going to end up being the flat defender. Our corner stays on top of the receiver, which is an indicator for quarters. Our safety is going to turn open here. He's not working to the deep half, another indicator that we have quarters. And then you're just going to see Baker kind of play off of this. There's really nowhere for Darnold to go if he wants to go to Addison, because you have a corner who's going to cut anything off outside. You have Baker who's going to roll over anything if it interplay basketball, if it goes into a dig. And then you have anything goes vertical, you have a safety. Once he goes out, that safety can then unleash and he can fox that post. He can basically, I call it post control. He can go back into the post. So even on this deep route, we have 2. And then we're playing really sticky up top on this dig. Again, another dagger concept from the Vikings. They run it the best out of anybody in the NFL, and the Cardinals are prepared for everything. You can see here, even on the check down, there's nowhere for Darnold to go. Even if he rips it for Jefferson, you have a linebacker right here. He's going to have to throw right over his head into a tight window. Remember, these quarterbacks are really looking for color. This looks covered. He's got this guy covered. This guy's covered. And then you have the clamps on the deep route. There's nowhere for him to go. And then the rush gets there. He ends up having to scramble. But another good example of we don't have to run Tampa. This isn't penny Tampa. They're not just running Tampa all the time. They're doing multiple things out of it. And here we get a clinic look at a quarter, half, or cover 6 look. Darnold has nowhere to go, feels the pressure, ends up having to scramble out of this. Now, the other thing, the last thing, these are early downs that we've been seeing this. So they're running. These are not just passing downs. This is not a passing defense. I wanted to make sure that I put that in there. This is early downs. This is what they do on defense, and it's one of the most unique defenses in the NFL. Here's a good look at a cover 3. So we've seen some Tampa. We saw a quarter, half. Here's a cover 3 look right here. We're going to get in this 3-by-1 alignment. Addison's going to work down. But what you're going to end up seeing, and this is what's really unique about it, because they have this 3 safety look, they can do almost anything out of it. So we're actually going to get both of our safeties to drop down. We have our middle safety and our outside safety, and then we're actually going to get a closed post. We're going to have the corner stay outside, and then we're going to have our other corner stay outside on the other end. So as the ball is snapped, Darnold is going to get it. You get the play fake. He's looking, and you can see that we're going to end up with a cover 3. So as the play has progressed, we have our deep third, we have our closed post, we have our corner that's staying on top of this, we have our 2 hook defenders, we have a flat defender out here and a flat defender out here. So we have our classic look of cover 3. If I showed you right here, you would think, okay, they just stayed in a 3-4 cover 3. This is how we got it. But if you go back to the top, we know that we didn't get it from that. We got it from a penny 3 high look. Ball is snapped, we get cover 3. What I really like about this too is, again, we're looking at another early down. They're on the 20, and what these safeties are able to do is they are able to play the run and they're able to play the pass from the table, which helps them in the passing game. If they see pass, they're able to protect the sticks. Look, we've created a fence on the sticks right here with these 3 players. Anything that goes vertical is capped. So when Darnold is sitting here ready to throw the ball, you can see his primary read. These guys are covered. Okay. When he snaps back here, this guy's covered. When he snaps back here, this guy's now covered. He has nowhere to go and he has to bail on the play. So even on early downs, when we have these early down passing, which has been a big trending topic for the past couple of years on offenses, throw the ball on early downs. We have the Cardinals who are able to kind of get the best of both worlds. And Darnold almost throws this into a pick. If this was actually a little bit better of a throw, this might have actually been a pick by White. So again, we're getting a 3 high alignment. We've seen Tampa, we've seen kind of a quarter half, and now we're seeing a cover three, but you can't tell what it's going to be pre-snap. So it's kind of taking that Fangio kind of scheme of like we're playing everything from the table and you don't know where we're going to rotate, whether we're going to play split field or whether we're going to play single high. And they've kind of amplified it because of the personnel, and they're able to play this from a three high alignment. And again, we're early downs. They're not able to pass. Now it's 2nd and 10, and now you are ahead of the chains as a defense. I think one of the best ways that they use this alignment is actually in their blitz game. And so you're going to now see how they are going to show you their cards. Hey, we are gonna look like we are in a cover one or a cover three set, but we are not going to end in that. This is called storm. And so all we're going to get, we want to get eyes on Baker. He's going to blitz off the edge. We're going to get a reduction away from him, and we're going to actually play cover two invert. We're going to play two roll over here. He's going to feather out, and he's going to end up playing there. We're going to get our wall two defender here, wall two defender, and we're going to get our cut flat. And this is becoming a popular way to kind of go to counter these heavy sets where we're going to show strong rotation, which this is what this is. We're in our base 3-4 defense. We're strong rotated. And then what we're going to end up doing is blitzing off of this. And you can see here that once we see the linebacker identifies run, he's going to fit into the gap. And look who's there. We have a free hitter at Mike, and then we have the free hitter in Budda Baker who's going to meet there in the run. And so what we end up getting is we can have a cover two over here. We have an inverted two on the other side. So even if they want to throw a shot to Jefferson, he's already got the head start doing it. If he were to turn back right now, you would see that we would now actually be in a trap to alignment. And so here you can see this is another good example. And Baker runs they run a lot of safety simulated pressures with him with all sorts of different coverage, cover three, Tampa 2, different things behind him. But I wanted to put this in here because it's a good example too of, hey, we're going to even show you in our 3-4, we're going to show single high alignment. We're going to show strong rotation like a lot of people run because we want to get an extra hat down there in this 21 personnel set, but we're going to blitz the safety and we're actually going to be playing cover two. So it kind of feeds into that ambiguity that you get from their shell looks. And this is one example of that. And this is one of my favorite blitzes against these 21 personnel and 12 personnel formations. Look, I get it. Cardinals aren't sexy to talk about when it comes defensively. They really only have two primary players that are kind of stars, and that would be Jalen Thompson. And then obviously Budda Baker is an all-pro safety. He's one of the best in the NFL. Any of the 31 other teams would love to have him on their team, and he would be a starter. So we know that going in. But if you really want to look at kind of the evolution of the NFL and where we are today of how you can mitigate a lot of the lack of talent on your team, go look at the Cardinals. This is probably the most applicable defense to the college level and the high school level that you're going to find in the NFL. And I love watching them and what they're doing. And I'm not surprised. Gannon did an excellent job when he was in Philly. And then they also, in the back end, don't forget, they have Patrick Toney, who was at Florida before he left to come be the secondary coach for the Cardinals. So there's a lot of influence in that room, and there's a lot of really creative things going on. And again, genius by desperation, right? As my buddy Doug Farrar would say, when you don't have that talent, you have to find unique things to do. And all of these are applicable. We saw that they are doing a lot of this on early downs. They're changing the way they're confusing the secondary's playing. They're confusing quarterbacks, and they're doing a good job doing it. They've actually progressed. So if they stay on this trend, we could be looking at a mid-range defense, and that's saying something for the Arizona Cardinals, who again last year had to play nothing but quarters. They couldn't get to a lot of things, and now they're able to do some things to even mitigate it even more. And here we have them sitting in the NFC West with an opportunity to maybe make the playoffs. That's something to keep an eye on as we go forward in the season. And this is definitely a defense to put on your list to study in the offseason.